Welcome back to our Switch On Hot Picks for this week. We've got a lot of markets to cover, so let's get right to it. Let's start with the U.S. dollar index. Very important that we understand the macro trend facing the DXY. You can see that really since the inauguration of Trump back in 2025, you can see that it's been on a steady downtrend. And right now, it's important to realize before we look at anything else, the dollar is still in a very bearish position. So we're looking at maybe 2021's low as being a potential support zone, right down around 89.20, somewhere in that zone. But right now, we're trading about 97. We've still got some key levels to deal with. We've got 95 to deal with. We've got 92.50 and 90 even. But it really looks like we are headed that way. We've seen nothing that leads us to believe the dollar is going to rally for the foreseeable future. So it all starts with the dollar. And right now with FOMC minutes coming up Wednesday, we've also got the PC price index coming up Friday and U.S. GDP. The dollar is in a very bearish position. There's no question about it. So from that, let's go ahead and look at the U.S. 100. Now, a lot of people are in panic mode about the future of AI and chip shortages and all the different factors that brought the selling into this U.S. 100 market last week. Very important to understand that we're not really in a situation where the market's bearish. I mean, we had the big downtrend that developed last April on the tariff fears, and then we had the death cross develop here. The 50 crossed under the 200 simple moving average, and then you had the immediate rebound on the golden cross. The 50 crossed back up over the 200, and since then you've really been in a bullish type of a situation. However, that may be changing. You'll notice that the area, some call it divergence, some call it convergence. The bottom line is this: the area between the 200 and the 50 is getting tighter. So we're starting to see those moving averages sort of converge upon one another. That would suggest that you would have a death cross coming if that crossover does develop. So we're going to be watching that in the US 100. Very, very interesting. If you do get that crossover right around 25,000, does that mean 25,000 maybe is an intermediate term top or maybe a long-term top? We could start to make that decision if we do get that event to happen. So we're watching the 50-200 close. Honestly, it doesn't look like it's a few weeks away from crossing under, and that would mean sustained bearish action. We are watching it, though. It's on the radar. Now, as far as our Fibonacci retracements, you're still extremely bullish. I mean, this is a monthly chart. You can see really from that April tariff panic lows of 2025. Nice big rally, and now we're just sort of chopping sideways. I would love an opportunity maybe to send a bid that way, 22.5-ish, 22.550, somewhere down in that zone. I just don't know that we get there this week. Still a ways down. Still very bullish US 100 technically. However, we are showing signs of some weakness. It's definitely going to be one to watch as this year really drags on and as things start to pan out with regards to monetary policy. Then we'll have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen in the US 100. I would say, maybe late March, maybe going into April. Interesting market to watch, though. Definitely one of the biggest ones on the board. It's not a party without gold and silver. Everybody loves gold and silver. You can see this chart right here is interesting. This is the daily chart for your spot gold market. You can see a nice big 3-day sell-off, and we're still trading inside of that about 2.5 weeks later. We covered this on our live stream on Monday. I really wanted to point out just how flat and challenging this spot gold has been to trade. It's been really difficult since we had the big volatility of a few weeks back, and then since then, really trading around that key level of 5,000. That's a big deal. Keep a close eye on 5,000 in gold. If we do deviate too far from 5,000, typically we've rallied right back up to that zone. So I'm watching that closely. It's really not either support or resistance at this time. It's more of an area of two-way action. It's a catalyst for the buyers and sellers to get involved in the market. So check out 5,000. It's pretty much never too far away from what the current price of gold is. It's going to be an interesting area. A lot of consolidation. What's going to make this market break? Could be a macro event, could be a breaking news event. Right now, we don't know, but we're in a holding pattern near 5,000 in gold. Silver, similar type of a situation, but not the same. You can see this is our 920 EMA crossover on the daily. You'll notice you sort of have a daily sell right there. I wouldn't read too much into that or get too carried away because you really don't have that RSI confirmation. Right around that 50 area with the RSI suggests that, yeah, the silver market is flat, but there is a big purple bar, so that would be a 9 crossing under the 20 on the daily. Once again, I wouldn't read too much into that. That is sort of just a sell signal that may or may not be one that we would want to jump on. What we're seeing is consolidation around 75. So gold consolidating around 5,000. Silver consolidating around 75. So when we're thinking about metals, we're thinking big key numbers. Big round numbers, and right there, 5,000 in gold, 75 in silver, no question about it. So let's go on over to our 9 EMA strategy. So remember, if you're interested in the 9 EMA, we've got a lot of materials out on Switch Markets that can help you out. This is one of those strategies that we built out, and it was a sort of a nice hit on the How to Trade YouTube channel. We talked a lot about it on how to trade, and so we decided to say, hey, maybe a lot of folks want a strategy to begin with. The 9 EMA is not a bad one. So if you're interested in it, we've got all sorts of pages you can look at. Just head on over to Switch Markets and search for the 9 EMA, and you can get signed up. Actually, you can check out the first line in the comments beneath this video, and I'll have the link for you right there. This is interesting to me because the 9 EMA on larger time frames is something I haven't really talked about much on the live streams. Now, we do trade this strategy live, especially after key events, but this right here is interesting. What does the 9 EMA really mean on a longer time frame? And the answer is it sets you up for swing trades and maybe longer term investiture. So when we're looking at gold, take a look at the gold daily chart. Nice big sell signal, no question about it. Price was elevated above the top side RSI value, which was 70. We got the bar close, the daily close within 7 bars of that overbought situation, and there was your sell. So you're still a little bit bearish compared to where we were in gold. Interesting move. I don't necessarily wouldn't read too much into that, saying that you need to sell right now on gold. Remember, 5,000 is the big deal there. You're going to want to keep a close eye on that. Now, this one's interesting. Silver. Silver on the weekly time frame. You've got a weekly sell, which essentially is a bit of a doji. That is a big deal right there. So price got overextended up to those all-time highs to 121, and now you sort of had a sell signal develop, and the market pushed it a bit lower. So 75 is the big catalyst in silver. We'll be covering these markets each and every day on our live stream, so be sure to tune in and ask as many questions as you'd like over on Switch Markets YouTube channel. But realistically, we have reason to believe that maybe the game's changing a little bit here for metals. Now, we're not there yet. We're still looking at a dovish dollar, geopolitical uncertainty still surrounding the Iran situation, Russia, Ukraine, all of those market drivers, not to mention the Epstein files. There's a lot going on that could still drive precious metals to the moon, but we are seeing a bit of a shift in sentiment. I'm going to be watching that weekly sell, which as you can see, the market's coming off a little bit. I'm going to be watching that weekly sell there in silver relatively closely. So that's a good look at our key markets for this week, our hot picks. Remember, that it all begins and ends with the dollar. Dollar's still weak, and we think that it's probably going to get weaker in the coming months. We'll be all over that. The US 100, a lot of folks are crying that the correction is on. Not quite yet. We're still really looking at that golden cross being an incredible predictor of a beautiful uptrend. A little bit of a pullback zone down here at 22.5 we would look at. In gold, 5,000 is the big one in gold. 75 is the big one in silver. All right, that's it for this week's Switch On Hot Picks. We will catch you on our next live stream.